Hello and welcome. Aren't these beautiful? Aren't these magnificent? I didn't think my peonies were going to open. The plant was absolutely covered and they were tight buds. But the past week with the sun and the rain, it's really triggered them. This is like a saucer, it's huge. But yes, beautiful display of flowers. I need a bit more of this beautiful smoke bush, the cotoneus, I think. But it started to rain, so I'll have to get that later. But aren't they a sight for sore eyes? So I thought I would, talking about sight for sore eyes, talk a little bit about eye health. A friend got in touch with me this week with a diagnosis that they'd received, and I thought it might be an opportunity to talk about post-menopause and eye health and our vision. And it does seem to deteriorate post-menopause. What I learned was a few years ago, we have receptors in our eyes for estrogen as well as elsewhere in the body. So our body actually has estrogen receptors all over the place, but the eyes are one of them. And I found as I went through the menopause, but I was also studying at the same time, my eyesight started to deteriorate, and I wasn't sure whether it was the amount of screen work I was doing at work and the study time I was doing, or whether it was the menopause. And I would say probably an amalgamation of the two. But there's a number of things that can happen when our hormones fluctuate when it comes to our eyesight, and we can get things like dry eyes where the tear ducts don't work quite as well. We're also susceptible to glaucoma and cataracts, and also today I want to talk about age-related macular degeneration as well. So these sort of fluctuations in our hormones and other issues that may be at play, which we'll talk about, can result in us having blurred vision, reduced vision, driving at night becomes difficult, and even our colour perception can change. So there's quite a lot of things that can actually occur. Now, glaucoma, this is currently irreversible. I say currently because science always develops, and what is not possible today may be in 5-10 years time, but at the moment glaucoma is known to be irreversible, and it is actually a neurodegenerative problem in the eye where pressure builds up and can cause problems, I believe, on the optic nerve. It can be damaged. Now, causes for this could be high blood pressure, but apparently low blood pressure could be a problem as well. Diabetes is related. So these aren't the causes, actually. These are related, I should say, to this. Inverting your head. If you already have a problem, inverting your head may increase the blood pressure too much in the eye. So something as simple as that. Then there are medications that can come into play. If you're on steroids for a long time, that might be an issue. So it's worth having a word with your GP and following that up. And in fact, if you notice any change in your eye, don't just sit on it. Get some professional advice. Cataracts, as we know, this is when the eyes get very cloudy, and this is like a breakdown and clumping of proteins in the lens of the eye, so that it just over time it becomes worse. But this can be treated, and there are available operations that can help clear those cataracts and restore vision. So that's something. But also causes or say risk factors include smoking, alcohol, again diabetes could be at play here, nutritional deficiencies, UV sunlight can be an issue, and again various medications, steroids come up again here, diuretics even, and tranquilizers are possibles. So be mindful of that. Don't stop taking your meds, please. Please, this is for information only. Please seek medical advice should you want to make any changes at all. And then age-related macular degeneration. This is really leaky blood vessels in the eye. However, I have read that some stem cell studies and experiments are showing potential benefits here. So that might crop up in the next few years where there is a treatment with stem cells, potentially for age-related macular degeneration. Now, with each of these, there can be actually a genetic link as well. So if you've got a genetic, or if your parents have had any of these problems, then it's worth following up with your doctor or the optometrist, basically, the opticians. So what can we actually do from a practical point of view? Yes, you can go and see your doctor, of course, but I like to help you with things that you can do to help yourself. But I would say the very first thing to do for prevention, and should you have a diagnosis, is to go and have an eye examination and have it regularly taken. And then protect your eyes from UV sunlight, and apparently there's a UV 400, which is the mark you're looking for when you buy your sunglasses. So I've never done that. In fact, I've been very remiss about wearing sunglasses throughout my life, but it's something I'm more conscious of now. So that's UV 400 to look out for. And then limit your screen time. This was interesting. There's a 20-20-20 rule. I'll call it a rule, but it's advice. And apparently with this advice, it's if you're on a computer screen or any sort of screen, take a break every 20 minutes for at least 20 seconds and look at something at about 20 foot away. So this is really taking our eyes from focusing right in front of us to focusing at a distance. And I have heard, I think it was Dave Asprey from the Bulletproof Coffee company, who's into longevity. I believe he improved his eyesight by doing an exercise where he looked at something close to, like his thumb, and then looking at something at a distance, and it's exercising the eyes basically. So that was very interesting. So just looking at things from doing a little practice close to and then focus at a distance can be beneficial. But taking downtime from your screens, because those lights are quite bright and potentially could do damage. If you're smoking, of course the advice on all levels is to stop smoking, and also if you drink alcohol, do limit your alcohol, because they do say there used to be a thing about drinking makes you blind. It probably still is there, but yes, do limit alcohol as well. Keeping hydrated, and I think I've mentioned that before. If our cells are well hydrated, they work at their optimum level, and actually helps with the pressure in the blood vessels as well. If there's enough water in our bodies to make up the plasma, etc., we function much better. Humidifying the air, that's something that's been recommended as well. And then of course, practical things like sleep, getting at least 7 to 9 hours at a night, following all those good sleep habits we've spoken about before, dark room, comfortable bed, not eating too close to dinner, to bedtime, that kind of thing. But also one recommendation is don't sleep on your face. That can increase the pressure in the eyes. So avoid sleeping on your face, or crushing your eyes with your arm, that type of thing. Damage to the eyes, of course, is probably an obvious one, I suppose, that can lead to something else. Then exercise. Now here again, you may need to get some advice depending on where you are in your life, because exercise can be very good to improve our circulation, and therefore that can help nourish the eyes. It can raise our blood pressure. That might not be such a good thing, so you may need to be cautious about the level of activity, or the intensity, I should say, of that activity. But it could raise the blood pressure if you've got low blood pressure, which might be a benefit. So it's finding the right balance. So I would say seek medical advice first, and I would actually look for a good personal trainer who knows what they're doing as well, to get the right level of activity, and who can help you measure perhaps your blood pressure as you're training. So have a little look at some exercise if you're not already doing something. And walking, again, does crop up on this sort of on the radar for good eye health. And then diet. I thought I'd finish with diet because as a nutritional therapist, that's the one for me. So nutrients that are useful here, and I'm going to talk about the foods in a moment, but I'm going to name the vitamins by name so that we've got an idea what we're looking for in our food. But I do recommend food first. So vitamins A, C and E, and apparently it's those three together that has a sweet spot when it comes to eye health. So there's a synergy between nutrients in our foods that really help in all areas of our body, but A, C and E were particularly mentioned when it comes to eye health in synergy together. B vitamins were mentioned, and B12 has been mentioned, and then a carotenoid called zeaxanthin has also been mentioned. So I want to go through those to give you an idea of what you could eat to make sure you've got each of those. So I've got a list because I always forget. So with vitamin A, you can find those in foods like sweet potatoes, carrots, spinach, orange and yellow fruits and vegetables. So that's that sort of carotenoid area where you've got the oranges and yellow fruits and vegetables. So mangoes and cantaloupe, very good. Papaya. And then also liver is rich in vitamin A, eggs and dairy. So depending on what you eat or what your diet base is, there's a few options there. Vitamin C, I think we all know citrus is full of vitamin C, hopefully, if it's fresh. Sometimes it can travel to this country and it's depleted completely. But you'll find that peppers, particularly red peppers, I think, have probably high levels anyway. So peppers, red and yellow peppers particularly. Strawberries are good. Do wash your strawberries. Wash all fruits and vegetables, even when they're organic, just in case. Broccoli is a good one here for vitamin C. Brussels sprouts, potatoes as well, particularly the skin. Black currants, kiwi, papaya and cantaloupe crop up again as well, being rich in vitamin C. When it comes to vitamin E, there's various things that are rich in vitamin E, but I've excluded some because seed oils are potentially detrimental, so I wanted to exclude those. But things like nuts and seeds, like sunflower seeds, eating the nuts and the seeds themselves could be very good for vitamin E levels. Spinach and leafy greens as well. broccoli, avocados, eggs and salmon as well. So again, quite a nice range there. And then zeaxanthin, this was particularly good for age-related macular degeneration, which is where we have, I don't know if I've just mentioned this or not, I can't remember, leaky blood vessels basically in the eye. So this is actually the carotenoid, it's actually a pigment in the foods, but these pigments aren't just beautiful colours, they're very helpful compounds. So you get them in corn and saffron, leafy greens like kale and spinach, watercress is pretty good as well, Swiss chard, and then also goji berries, also rich in zeaxanthin. And then oily fish like mackerel, sardines and salmon have also been mentioned to be supportive when it comes to eye health and eye prevention for damage to eye health. And I'm pretty sure I read something about there being something like 42% less incidence or lower risk in eye issues for those people who are eating it fairly regularly. And of course, one of the other things that has cropped up is if your gut isn't working terribly well, you need to restore your gut health to enable you to absorb these nutrients, to be able to support your eye health. So I thought another time I will talk, in the not too distant future, I'll talk about how to support a healthy gut. And to be honest, it will be different for everybody. So in general, it is a very personal journey, and each of us needs to look at something slightly different to suit where we are and how we live and what we do and what is actually going on in our bodies at the moment. But those are some great pieces of advice, I feel, to help support eye health, and the diet is incredibly important. I've mentioned before, I'm not keen on talking about supplementation because I like to know what people are doing in the way of medications, where they are in their life, to know really what would be supportive to them on a personal level. So I'm not recommending supplementation in these videos, but it's something you can follow up with a practitioner, somebody who knows what they're talking about, should you have an inclination to go down that route. So there you are, that's a little rundown on postmenopausal eye health. It does tend to deteriorate, so sorry about that, but we can help support ourselves. And I've found supporting our health supports all areas of our health, all areas of our body, our mind, if we focus on good habits that are supportive of all-round good health. So there we go, and long may we enjoy the beauty of nature, you know, the birds today as well, the colours of, I don't know what the finch was, but it was absolutely stunning. And I saw a skewbald horse today with the most wonderful markings. Yeah, the beauty around us is worth saving our eyesight for. So thank you for joining me again. I hope to see you again next week. And do let me know if there's anything you want me to talk about, please, because I do appreciate that. And if you like this video, please share it with somebody who may benefit, and please subscribe if you haven't already done so, because I do appreciate that too. Thank you very much. Bye bye.